So welcome to the Leader Impact Global Forum. My name is Narinder and I'll be your guest host today. Leader Impact is an organization that helps leaders become leaders of impact by focusing on three key areas in their lives: the personal, the professional, and spiritual. At this group forum, we get to interview leaders who are making a difference. They're walking the walk. They are leaders of impact. With me today, I am so excited to introduce my boss and the CEO of Mission Group, Jonathan Friesen. Welcome, John.
Thanks very much, Narinder.
John, you're the CEO of one of the largest developers in the Okanagan, the person responsible for the ever-evolving skyline of Kelowna. How did you get here? How are you sitting in front of us as the CEO of Mission Group?
Well, Narinder, it's interesting. The journey that a business person takes is not always planned. In my case, that's certainly true. How I got here is almost like a series of mistakes, but I can see that at some level, or maybe at a great level, extreme level, it was ordained. It was orchestrated from above. When I started out in business, straight out of university, I became a chemical trader for a large Japanese trading firm. I was working in downtown Vancouver, but I slowly realized that because I wasn't full-blooded Japanese, I'm half Japanese. Although I'm completely fluent in Japanese, I was unlikely to progress to higher levels in the organization just because I didn't join the company in Tokyo, I didn't go to a certain select universities, and I'm not full-blooded Japanese. So I remembered a word that one of my professors taught me in business school, and he said that if you don't have the ability to, or at least have the opportunity to reach the top of an organization, it's time to quit. So I did. It was a big move. And I learned that life is perhaps more interesting when you get into business for yourself. So that's what I did. At first, I was an international trade consultant. Consultant's what you call yourself when you don't know what else you are. And I moved through several stages of that business. But one of the very interesting clients that I once got was a development company. So I learned that development is a very interesting and dynamic business, and it interested me a lot. So I formed my own development company without having any idea what that meant. And through a series of mistakes and successes, little by little the organization grew, and that's really what we see here today.
That's incredible. So your journey to CEO really was step by step. It wasn't just a overnight success. It was something that you had said earlier that it was ordained. So
that's really what I think. There was certainly a controlling, sort of a guiding principle from above that I felt all along, and sort of the support of my God, who guided and directed many things. Forgave the transgressions, and helped me learn from all of those things. That's really the essence of what got me here today.
So in that case then, life is lived backwards sometimes. When we can look back, we learn, we grow, and we get better. Are there moments along your journey that are pivotal to bringing you where you are today, and can you share some of those?
Sure, there's probably a lot of them. One of them was a fairly recent, I'm saying, when I say recent, at my age, in the last 20 years is pretty recent, but the realization that growing a company is best done when you don't make it about the money. Don't make it about me, don't make it about my career, and you reach for something just outside of that. And I'm not sure, maybe someday I'll be able to write a book that describes it, and you can probably help me with the proper title for this, but it really has to do with losing the focus on the thing that you think it might be about. So if it was in business and you think it's about making money, or if we're in development as we are, and you think it's about building buildings, then I think we might have missed the point. And when I realized that it's really not about that, it's really about all the things on the periphery of it, then it really gets to be interesting. And that was a big moment of realization for me. So, for instance, in our organization, if we focus just on the thing, in this case, money or buildings, then that's really all you get. And in fact, if you focus on all the peripheral things like giving people amazing places to live, being concerned about the memories that they're able to establish in those homes, be worried about the spaces between the buildings so that the lived experience of the built environment can be meaningful, to try to exercise a form of community capitalism that creates prosperity for everybody in the community, even those who haven't purchased or rented from us, is for sure the best way to grow a business. And if it were all about making as much money as possible, I still think that making it not about the money is the best way to accomplish it. And this whole notion of creating an organization that can serve a purpose greater than me, greater than any of us, is probably responsible for us getting to where we are.
And this is what we say when I spoke earlier about walking the walk. I really think that you as a leader, as a CEO, your journey has allowed you to really walk that walk, and working for you, I see that every day. It's never about the money. It's always about how is this going to impact the community? How is it going to better the community or give spaces for people to truly live a life that they're proud of? So definitely agree with you on that. So along your journey, what principles have led to your success, and have they changed at all along the way?
I think they have changed a lot along the way. One of my recent learnings comes from a quote that was probably made in the 50s by a gentleman by the name of Earl Nightingale. And he said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So let me say that again. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So you don't need to arrive anywhere to be successful. Success is not a destination. It's a process. It's a path. So I think the trajectory is much more important than any kind of a goal that you might have established. So, if our worthy ideal is to serve as many people as possible, to build as much impact in the community for good as possible, then that's our worthy ideal, and success is when we simply follow it every single day. One of our staff members recently used another analogy. His was, lay a brick every day. Every day, lay one brick, right? And so it's not about trying to reach the grand goal as soon as possible, because in business, I don't really think there is a goal that defines your success.
The goalpost is always changing, likely.
Right. It's always changing. And that's another definition of excellence, right? Excellence that was excellence yesterday is no longer excellence today. You've got to reach for something more.
Right. And I think it also speaks to the fact that a lot of us are taught that getting to the destination is everything. And then once you get there, you're like, now what? So the ongoing progression is the journey. And so knowing that is super powerful. And I can see why that's a successful principle for you. So John, it's been said, and from my personal experience, that we learn more from our failures than we do our successes.
I think that's true.
So getting a little vulnerable here, are there any failures that you can share that you learned a lot from?
Sure. You've heard this story before, but when I first started out in business, when my focus was still about creating the maximum amount of money as possible or building as many buildings as possible, I made the mistake of making it all about the business and about the next deal rather than my family. And I was in the process of, I would say, sacrificing my family on this altar of business in order to reach this goal, all the wrong things, and completely lost sight of the important things in life. In that period, I spent, my wife often reminds me, something like 7 months on an airplane or away from home. Wow. And this is at a time when our kids were just toddlers. So some would call that highly irresponsible. Others might call it the sacrifice you have to make to build a business for your family, which is the lie I told myself. One day, I came back from an extended trip and landing in Vancouver, coming down from customs, I saw my 2 little boys waiting for me and my wife. And the 2 little boys were hanging onto these little stainless pipes. And they looked at the business guy in front of me coming off the plane, then they looked at me, didn't respond at all, and looked at the guy behind me, still looking for Dad. And that's because they didn't know who their dad was anymore. They were young, and they forgot what I looked like. And that was just one crazy moment when I was absolutely floored that it just all came true. everything that I ignored was being lost. I believe that if I would have continued on that path, I'd have lost my family. I would have lost my wife. And we had a very, very good heart-to-heart in our little family van on the way back home. And in that conversation, I said, you know, I'm going to sell out. We're going to stop doing what we're doing. I'm going to change. I'm going to make a 180-degree turn, and we'll all move somewhere else. We moved to a Caribbean island, formed charities, and worked doing those sorts of things. But I sold out of the business, and we literally moved. And when I got there, it took actually 2 years to actualize on this. It's easy to start a business in Canada. It's very difficult to stop a business and wind everything down. It took 2 years to pull it off. But when we finally did, I had the opportunity to make lunch for my sons, take them to school, pick them up from school, and try to be their best friend, be available to them all the time. We were fortunate enough to live on a beach. You know, we'd spend, you know, most afternoons in the water or fishing. And so I was able to rebuild those relationships. And I think even to this day, now they're grown men. They have their own families. And so that relationship that I was able to build then, that some might have called a sacrifice, but it was actually getting everything back that mattered. And so that was one really important lesson. And to this day, and you probably hear me say it quite often, that your family is more important than your work.
Right.
And I say that in almost a self-serving way. I don't really intend to say that, but I know that our staff will be higher functioning staff if everything at home is in great shape. I think that so much efficiency and traction gets lost in business when family lives, when an employee's family life is in shambles. I don't know how anybody can function at their top level when that's going on in their personal life. So taking care of a person's family, making sure their family life is as solid as it possibly can be, and emphasizing to them that matters more than your job, happens also to be the best way to get a person to do their job.
It's incentive and balance. What I think is interesting is how you knew right away that something had to change. So something must have happened for you when you walked down and you saw that right away to know.
Well, I'm sure I was building up to it, you know, and feeling quite bad about how I'd been behaving for probably 3 years. And when family comes along, I got married, I had children, responsibilities change, and putting work in front of family is a terrible way to run a business. And it's obviously a complete failure of a way to run a family.
So going back to the 3 key areas of a leader, the professional, the personal, and the spiritual. Can you tell us about a time that the spiritual made a practical difference in your life as a leader?
I think the spiritual side of who I am makes a practical difference every day as a leader. And so rather than try to pick out something that was spiritually oriented that benefits how I try to do my job, let me just simply say this, that as a believer, there are certain things that have to hold true. I tell the truth. I am humble. Maybe I should make this more of an aspirational statement than it is a reality. But I try to tell the truth. I try to be humble. I treat people with respect as better than myself. I turn the other cheek when I'm insulted. Those kinds I value other people ahead of myself. If I say to somebody that it's going to cost that much and I will do this, then I try to make that exactly true. You know, as you know, we do our best to make sure that every message that goes out is dead on, is true, and we make sure that we treat our customers with that level of respect and transparency, and so all of those peculiar, perhaps, Christian principles that some people might say are anti-business are actually, I think, the best way to show up and do business every single day. If you are a customer, wouldn't you rather do business with a person that does what they say they're going to do, tell you the truth, don't try to shroud anything, and over-deliver and perhaps under-promise? Leaders or businesses that show humility and let you know that you're more important. That's who you want to do business naturally. And so whether it's building a brand or simply treating a customer that's had something going on that's not quite right, that just happens to be the best way to do business, but they completely align with everything I know as a believer.
And that's how you set the company up, Mission Group. One of the main values is, building it right, but also making sure that when we do mess up, if we do mess up, we fess up. So we fix it and we make it right. So I can certainly see your influence on the organization's values as well. John, thank you for your time today, and for being an ongoing mentor to me, and for being a great example of a leader that's making an impact.
Thanks very much, Narinder.
For those of you watching this as a group, you'll have the opportunity to discuss this together and ask each other questions to really unpack what you've learned today. We hope that the conversation your group has gives you an idea of what it's like to be a part of a leader impact group, where you can encourage and challenge each other to become more impactful leaders. It's only through intention that you can accomplish this.